Hi, everybody. Jean Humbrecht with Humbrecht Law, criminal and traffic defense attorney in Manassas, Virginia. If you see me anxiously looking all over the screen, it's to make sure this is actually up and live because we've had some technical issues. It looks to be. So if you guys missed us at 4, we were here and we just didn't know that you weren't there. So anyway, I have a very special guest today, Jennifer Hocutt of JHocutt Group. And because of the technical difficulties, I have to pull up her resume again because it's so impressive that I cannot remember everything that is on there. So bear with me for 1 second. While I'm pulling that up, I will tell everybody how I met Jennifer. Jennifer and I actually met through DC Fempreneur. We met at a co-working event at Jure Coffee House in Centerville. DC Fempreneur used to do those events in person. Now they actually provide those virtually, but Jennifer and I met there. And Jennifer actually gave a really interesting presentation about organization and time management, which was so incredibly helpful. So I knew I had to have Jennifer on. And this is actually our last local business spotlight celebrating National Women-Owned Small Business Month. So now that I have told you all how we met, back to describing who Jennifer is. Jennifer Hocutt is an experienced career development consultant. As a senior operational leader, she successfully led regional teams, growing them into multi-million-dollar revenue-producing businesses. Earning an MBA in organizational leadership provided Jennifer with the opportunity to gain expert knowledge through frontline exposure. Incorporating her most rewarding work, creating success strategies and formal development training programs, Jennifer launched JHocutt Group P.L.L.C, I believe 2 years ago, but she will tell us more about that. Jennifer has successfully motivated clients to increase their leadership power, reigniting engagement and achieve ultimate professional success while challenging audiences to explore their own path to greatness and take action. And this paragraph was my favorite part. Taking pride in being a small-town Midwestern girl raised on hard work and Ovaltine, her life's purpose is to help others step into the highest version of themselves while writing their own story of success. So that is a very impressive resume. I couldn't have written anything like that, but that's why Jennifer helps write resumes. That's what she does.
It's hard to write about yourself. I actually interviewed a couple of people and had them describe me to myself, and then I took their thoughts and put it on paper because it's not easy. It's not easy to talk about yourself. But here's my first question. Does anybody know what Ovaltine is? That always stumps people.
It's like some sort of hot chocolatey drink.
It's a chocolate milk. So it's just like your Nestle's Quick, but it's malted chocolate milk. Incredibly fattening. But I love Ovaltine. I was totally raised on it, and so I still love it to this day, but I try not to drink it very much. My hips can't handle it.
You know, I don't know if I've actually ever had it, but I guess it is a Midwest thing. I don't know.
It is. Yeah, it is. And that always stumps people, but it's true. Hard work and Ovaltine are the backbone of how I got here.
I agree with the hard work part. So we go on, though. If you guys want to let us know where you are tuning in from, and feel free to type your questions into the comments, and we'll get to them as they come up or as we have an opportunity to ask Jennifer. So any questions you have about resume writing and looking for a job right now, please feel free, and Jennifer will try to answer as much as she can. So Jennifer, I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell everybody a little bit, I guess in layman's terms, about what it is that you do and how you started your company.
Yeah, so thanks so much for having me, Jean. I really appreciate it. I cannot believe it's been a year since we met each other. Time has really flown by. Back in the day when we could actually meet in person, we started going to some networking events and running into each other and running into the same circle. So I'm glad we became friends over the past year. It's been great. So I started JHocutt Group about 2 years ago in 2018. I did it when I was still in my 9-to-5 corporate healthcare operations job. I'm not a really big risk taker, so I needed to kind of dip my toe in the pond before I went full force to really see if I could make this go and take off. I knew it was a service that people really needed because I had been helping people for a decade before that. As Jean said in my intro, I led regional teams, up to 200 plus people at any given time. So a lot of my team members sought advisement and counsel from me over the years, and many of them wanted to transition out of the healthcare industry, or they were going to school for something else, and I would help them navigate their career strategy so that they could be the author of that story. You should always be the author of your career story, and that's what I help my clients do. I help them take back that control and power and to write the career story that they love, because so often people find themselves in jobs that just suck the lives out of them. It really impedes their personal life, their professional world. They hate going to work. And when you're in a job that you hate, it really sucks. So I say I rescue mid-career professionals from professional isolation. And that's what my clients are really finding themselves in, especially during this time of COVID. So, and I know you had a question about COVID and wanted to ask me about it, but essentially the clients that I work with are mid-career professionals. So they're pretty much in their careers for about 7 to 10 years, and they find themselves unemployed for whatever reason. Either their position was eliminated, they were let go from a job, COVID happened, and so they've made some cuts, or they're underemployed, meaning they're not valued or compensated at where they should be. Or they find themselves really questioning, is this it? Is this really where I want to be? Is this really what I want to be doing? Is this really what I want to be when I grow up? And believe it or not, yes, people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s ask themselves that question quite often. And I help them navigate and create a career strategy so that they can go from being in a job or unemployed to securing a position that they absolutely love, that's filled with value and meaning, and at the compensation rate that they deserve.
So when you say develop a career strategy,
Yep.
Can you explain a little bit what that means and where you start from? So it's let's say if you don't have a job at all, and if you have a job, like what does that developing a career strategy look like?
Yeah, so a lot of people, when you don't have a job, typically clients who come to me who are unemployed have been searching for quite some time, and they are getting no traction. Either they're not getting any interview requests, or they're getting interview requests, but they're not getting job offers. A lot of times my clients will contribute that to resumes, and I don't consider myself strictly a resume writer. It certainly is a service that I provide, but I also provide an educational piece, because somebody else writing your resume is not going to help you. They should be writing your resume, but also educating you and navigating through that process so that you know how to use that tool. And I want people to understand that a resume is a tool. You are the asset to landing the job. How many times have you ever received a job offer strictly from your resume, never being interviewed, never having a conversation with the person, just they saw your resume, sent you an email, and sent you a job offer? It never happens. So the resume is the tool that is used to get you the interview. And once you secure the interview, you are the asset that then wins them over, and also ensures that they're a right fit for you. And you negotiate that, and it gets you the job. Then you land and secure the job that you want and that you want to take. So a resume is just a tool, but so many times people will say, I think my resume sucks because I'm totally not hearing anything back. And that can be true to a certain extent, because recruiters and organizations alike use a new artificial intelligence to source candidates, which is called the applicant tracking system, and it's an ATS. And that automatically scans resumes and takes keywords from your resume and compares it to the job description in which you are applying for. And the people who have the most keyword indicators that match up get pushed on to the next level. So typically your resume is not being reviewed by an individual person. And a lot of people are frustrated with it. I understand both sides of it. I was a hiring official for decades, and I had multiple positions open. There is no way I could have ever read every resume that comes through for any given position I had open, because traditionally, before COVID, one position would yield 250 applicants.
Wow.
Since COVID, that number has gone to the 400 to 500 mark. That's
Wow.
400 to 500 candidates for one position. So there's no way that these organizations, HR professionals can review every single resume. So they highly rely on the artificial intelligence of the ATS. So it makes it more challenging for people in the job market because you have to write a resume that is ATS friendly and can pass that system. But then you also have to write a resume that's appealing to a human reviewer because eventually it does get passed along to someone who will be reviewing your resume, and you really want to stand out to that individual. So you're clearing a lot of hoops that didn't traditionally exist back in the day. But again, it's still the tool. Once you get the interview, then what do you do? How do you answer those behavioral test questions? There's aptitude tests, there's behavioral tests, there's individual interviewing process, there's panel interview process that goes on. So you're interviewing with myriads of, several people at a time. I know I went on several of, when you get to be a senior leader, there were plenty of times where a lot of my interviews were all day long. They were 8 hours. I was just meeting with individual after individual in different departments. And so interviews can take all day. Of course, now with the virus, a lot of the interviews are over video. And that's another hoop for people to jump through because there's so many people who are not comfortable on video. I know I wasn't not too long ago. And so now you're also geeked up and nervous about going on an interview, but now you have to be on video. And there's just a lot of things to navigate, and recognizing that mid-career professionals who have been in the same job for 10, 15 years, who are now finding themselves on the job market, they're not able to successfully navigate that, or navigate that in a way where they are securing jobs that they would want. They're going after whatever position comes up to them because they're coming from a place of desperation. And that's never a good thing. So I take the person through the entire process. We start with what do you want to do? Where do you want to work? What's your dream job? Who's your dream company? What are you doing every single day that is just living your best life? And then we go through that process, your resume. And then we go through where to send your resume, how to upload your resume, optimizing your LinkedIn profile. Then we go to networking, reaching out to individuals, because 62% of the jobs today that are available aren't even posted. They're not even posted. A lot of times people won't post jobs for plenty of reasons. So they use LinkedIn and they use those keyword optimizers, the same thing that they use in the ATS, they will use in what's called LinkedIn Navigator. When they have an open position, they'll put in the job description, and everybody's LinkedIn profile who has the highest amount of keyword optimizers is then pushed through to the recruiter. So you want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is highly optimized with targeted keywords in the industry that you're searching for. And then we move to securing interviews and showing up. When they get an interview, walking through the interview process, answering those questions. What questions to ask? You should be asking questions. This is not just a one-way street. It should be a two-way street. You should be interviewing them to make sure they are a right fit for you and that you're a right fit for them. Not total desperation. Oh, the first person who gives me a job offer, I'm taking. And in today's situation with COVID, a lot of people are finding themselves needing to take the first job that comes along because, listen, they need to keep the roof over the head and the food on the table. And I totally get that. So I call those bridge jobs, where you may not be taking a job where you find yourself retiring or staying there forever, but it's a job to bridge the gap from where you're at to where you want to go next. And so we navigate that process. And there's navigating the question of, why is there a gap in your resume? What have you been doing for these past 6, 9, 12 months that you haven't been working? And how do you answer that question and overcome those obstacles? Then when you get the job offer, negotiating compensation. And that doesn't just mean monetary compensation. That's benefits, time off, work-life balance, schedule flexibility, all of those things. So from start to finish, we are in it together. I'm like your success partner. I'm along for the ride to make sure you don't go it alone.
That's a lot of information.
Are you overwhelmed, Jean? I know you sound just like my clients. They're like,
Yeah, I don't know what to ask first because I have so many questions.
Okay.
So I guess an easy one, you help people prepare for the interview once they actually get the interview?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So we do role playing. I have a list of commonly asked questions, and of course they will vary by department and industry. But understanding, how to answer those questions, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or tell me a little bit about yourself. You would be amazed at how stumped people get. They always say, well, do I tell them like that I have kids? Do I say that I like to golf on the weekends? What do I talk about something personal, or do I just keep it totally professional? And so we talk about answering the common questions that are in an interview, questions that try to stump you, because unfortunately that does exist. People try to stump you and kind of get you off base to see how you would react in a weird question or a thought-provoking question and where you're going to go with that. So I know when I was an interviewer, I always just tried to make the candidates feel very comfortable. I would start the conversation, just a conversation. I'd start the interview as a conversation. I would get them very comfortable because I wanted them to answer the questions authentically and being genuine. So I wanted them to feel comfortable and forget that they're in an interview and just feel like they're having a conversation with someone they've just met. Then I could really see what their thoughts and their feelings and how they're going to show up. And I was able to really identify the best candidates and the worst candidates by doing that. So that was an interview technique that I incorporated, but there's millions out there. And it can be overwhelming. And it's hard to predict what you're going to be asked. So having somebody work with you, what to wear, how to show up, how to answer certain questions, but mainly how to walk through your resume and really speak to your resume and keep the focus on your accomplishments. That's the main tip I can give people. You want to make sure you're writing a resume that is accomplishment focused, not responsibility focused. It's really important that you came in, you turned the lights on, you answered the phones, you served the clients and customers well, and you went home. That's great. But that doesn't talk about how you really served the company. You really helped them meet those organizational goals. You really added positively to the bottom line. So you want to make sure that you're always talking about your accomplishments and you want to put them first. Every accomplishment. You saved the company 30% year over year by implementing XYZ. That's what people are looking for, how you made an impact at your last company, and they can clearly see how you can make an impact at their company. So keeping it accomplishment focused, and then the interview accomplishment focused. And it's really hard because we don't like to toot our own horns. It makes us seem arrogant, right? It's hard to be braggadocious. But I always say the humble brag is always welcomed.
The humble brag is always welcome. I'm going to put that in there. But I was actually wondering if you could possibly give everybody who's watching an example of how one may answer a difficult stump question, like what are your weaknesses or what are your greatest strengths? Because that goes to the braggadocious part too. We hate to brag about ourselves. And what was another one I thought of, a common interview question? There was something else. Oh, where do you see yourself in 5 years? You said that to me, and I'm like, I don't know. That's a terrible answer. But what would be an example of a good answer to one of those questions?
Okay, so a good answer to where do you see yourself? Well, here's a good one. Here's one that people really get stumped on. What is your weakness? So one of my all-time favorite answers is this. I like to say, well, I don't see my weaknesses as detriments. I see them as features that make me unique.
I saw that on Facebook. You posted something about that, or you posted a graphic that had that in there.
Absolutely. So when you have in your mind that your weaknesses are just features that make you unique, it doesn't have that negative connotation. We are not perfect. Everyone is fallible. And we're going to have things that we're really great at, but we're going to also have things that we're not great at. Here's what I always say one of my weaknesses is. I'm poor at delegation. And when I say that, so if I was in an interview, I would say I don't see my weaknesses as negative negative impacts upon my personality. I actually see them as features that make me unique. But one of the features that I have is I'm not great at delegation. I like to do things myself. And as a leader, I understand that delegation is crucial in order to get things done and lead teams, because it provides people responsibility, and it gives them accountability, and it also aids to them learning a new skill set. And all of that's really important as a leader. So while I feel uncomfortable at times delegating, I also understand the importance that it is to delegate to team members, because it sets them up for success. So while I still have some uncomfortability there, I'm working through it, but I love to see my teams win, and I love to grow teams so that they can better serve our clients and customers and the organization as a whole. So while it's something I'm working on, I'm definitely getting better at it.
That was a very good answer.
Would you hire me? Would you hire me, Jean?
I would hire you. You want to come work for Humbrick Law?
Yes.
See, this is why you all need somebody like Jennifer, because that, in all the jobs I've ever had in my entire life, I know I've never answered a question as well as that.
Yes.
So.
Well, and then the other one that you said really quickly, where do you see yourself in 5 years? So here's how people have answered that incorrectly. So I had a client who, I think it's really important to be honest in an interview, but I also think that you don't owe anybody every chapter of your life. There are certain things that you don't have to disclose that are just your personal business. So one of my clients showed up to an interview that she really wanted, and they asked her the popular question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And she said, well, I really want to be a lawyer. I really love law. And this is for healthcare consulting. And so she was very honest in her answer. She's thinking about law school. She's not really settled on it, but she started talking about law. Well, when she didn't get a call back, she was denied for the job further. She went, and I always tell my clients to do this, if you have the opportunity to reach out to them, to ask them, is there any feedback you can give me on the interview? Because I'm always looking to improve. Sometimes people will be graciously enough to take the time to do that. I know I always did as a hiring official, but some people are very busy, so don't feel offended if you don't hear back from them. But this particular person decided to give her some feedback, and they said, when you answered the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years, it was in a totally different industry, doing something totally different. For us as a company, it costs money for attrition, for turnover. Employee turnover is really costly to a company. In fact, it's one of the top 3 cost factors of a company. And so if she doesn't see herself growing with the company or being there in 5 years, she's probably not the candidate for them. And she wants to go in a totally different direction that has no alignment with what they're doing. So they didn't see her as a long-term employee. And that's what made them move towards somebody else. So you want to really think, where do you see yourself in 5 years? You see yourself with a company. You don't have to say that company, because you don't want to be like a butt kisser and be like, I see myself retiring and dying at your feet. But you want to be honest in the fact that you want to say, I see myself with a company who values me, where I'm doing meaningful work, where I can make a positive impact, where I can really help an organization achieve their bottom line so that they can better serve the clients, customers, and patients that they serve every single day. Maybe it's not them. You're not signing up for a long-term commitment with them. But it doesn't really matter what the position is. You want to focus on what you want to be doing every day. You want to do meaningful work. You want to work for a company that values you, that has growth opportunity, that you can bring value to, but you can also learn and grow. And people love that answer. And it just goes across any industry, anywhere.
Yeah, that is a really good answer. Again, I never would have answered a question like that. Where do I see myself in 5 years?
Yeah, it's a very common question. Very common. Yeah. Yeah.
Do I see myself still with Humbrecht Law, with just Jean Humbrecht as the only attorney, I don't know. I've had my business for 6 years, so a lot can happen in 5 years.
Right? I
I don't
know.
know.
It really does change. And, things also change. Who would have thought we would find ourselves in a pandemic? People's values have changed this year. I've had most of my clients have come to me because their values have changed. They've decided to really finally make that move that they've been kicking around for years and transition to a totally different career. Or some of them have just decided that they need to move to a more flexible work structure because they have other responsibilities. They're taking care of somebody who, elderly parents, or they're homeschooling their children, or they don't feel comfortable going into an office, or they found themselves without a job, unfortunately, because companies have cut back. But I will tell you this. I know we had talked about it offline. What have I seen with COVID come up? And what I have seen is this. The job market is competitive right now, but there's been an ebb and flow of market competitiveness throughout all of the years, regardless of a pandemic or not. The market is definitely competitive right now, but it's not hopeless. 96% of my clients have jobs right now, and they've gotten those jobs within 90 days or less. And I'm talking VPs down to managers. So I'm totally amazed by it. In the beginning, I was like, wow, what is this magic wizardry I have going on? These clients are like getting these jobs. My one client came to me, VP, and I kept prepping her that, in a normal market, it's about 3 to 4 months to really find a great VP role. And now, given this pandemic, it's going to probably be harder to navigate. So we're looking at 6 to 9 months. Now, she had a severance package, and so she was okay with that. We were navigating things financially, and she was in a good place. But we started working together, and literally within 60 days, she had another VP position. So I was totally amazed, but it happens, and it's happening. If that was just a one-off thing, it would be something else, but it has happened over and over and over again. And a lot of people ask me, well, what's the difference between going it alone and partnering with someone, someone who helps you plan a career strategy? And the difference is this. I think the number one thing is people come to me in frustration, overwhelm, and defeat. And when you know that you don't have to go through something alone, you feel more empowered. And I think that leads to confidence because they feel you get rejected way more than you get received. So you get a lot more no's than you do yeses. And that can be incredibly defeating and a real big blow to the ego. But when you have somebody who's constantly, that's not the job for you, this is what you need to do, and you're making moves that are very strategic. Throwing your resume out to 90 to 100 positions is not a strategy. That's total desperation. Reaching out and networking and getting into companies and securing resources and making those connections and really going after the companies and jobs that you want, that's a strategy. And that's empowering. That's what gets people out of bed every day, looking forward to, okay, who am I going to connect with today? Who am I going to talk to? What research am I going to do? And that's your full-time job when you don't have a job, is working your career strategy. And listen, I'm proof of a strategy because, like I said in the beginning, I started my business a year before I left my corporate job. And I put a strategy in place. I call it my exit strategy. And I put a solid exit strategy in place. And I gave myself 1 year to see where I landed. And if my exit strategy did not successfully warrant positive outcomes, I would stay in my corporate job and I would know that this was not for me. And here I am, full-time in my business. So strategies are really important, but they can be really hard to navigate on your own. Really hard.
That's a really good point. And it is, anybody who's watching that started a business knows how hard it is. And anyone that's thinking of starting a business thinks that it's impossible, but it's not. It's not, but you have to, get the help where you need it along the way and have a plan. Having a plan is the most important thing. Like you said, the career strategy, and if things don't go according to plan, you tweak your plan. But if you don't have a plan, it's never going to happen. I did want to mention a few things that Chris put into the comments. Chris, who is Jennifer's husband. Back when we were talking about delegating, he said, unfortunately, I often find myself having the quote, if you want it done right, then I have to, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself mindset, which is fed by a mindset weakness of thinking my way's the best way, although others may have another and even better way of completing the same task.
Yes, I love that. And listen, even if you delegate something off to another individual and they don't do it the way you would do it and they actually screw it up, where we fail and we fall is where we learned our greatest lessons. Mm-hmm. So, as a leader, it's really important to delegate because you have to let your team fail. You have to. Even if you see the red flags are coming, you got to let them have their moment. You got to let them learn from making their own decisions, or else you're never going to help them grow. And who loves a micromanaging leader? Like nobody. It's terrible to a company's culture. So yes, delegation is one that, while it may be a feature that you're not most proud of, there's a lot that you've learned from that.
I love that. A feature that you're not most proud of. Let's see. What would be a feature that I am not most proud of? I can't delegate either. You're talking about delegating, and me as a business owner, I'm like, no, right. Can't be done that way. Can't.
Yeah.
I'm sure I have a lot of features that make
huge. That's huge with business owners, right? Because we look at our businesses as babies. Oh, they're our babies and we have to protect them, and only we are the best nurturers and we know what's best for them and we are the decision makers. So nobody is going to love my baby like me. So obviously they're not going to be able to do anything right or do it the way I would do it. But here's the mistake. Your business shouldn't be your baby. It should be a machine. And you should look at your business as a machine, because if your business is a baby, the baby's dictating to you when it needs attention, when it needs you to get up and feed it and change its diaper. And you're constantly guessing as to what the baby needs, and it's taking from you, and it needs you and is totally dependent on you. A machine is what you want your business to be. You want your business to be a well-oiled machine. There's not that emotional attachment to a machine. If something breaks, what do? You try to fix it. You figure out what the problem is. You secure the resources if you're not able to do it yourself, and you keep it moving. That's what you want you to do. You want your machine to make you money while you're sleeping and to keep going, not a baby that draws from you and you can't rely on somebody else to take over at different times. So that's the number one piece of advice I would give business owners. That's just my business mindset. My business is not my baby. I've got 2 of my own babies to deal with. 3 if you count Chris. But my business is a machine. And when something breaks, I don't get all wrapped around the axle. And I'm not always trying to question that. What does that sound or that gurgle or that next thing require of me? It's, what do I need to fix it? There's a problem. Where's the opportunity to fix it? And what do I need to do to get it there?
That was some very good advice. I didn't even expect to get that advice from Jennifer. So to all the business owners,
strategy. I'm a strategy girl, so I love strategy, and I love business. I'm a business leadership nerd, so I can't help that either.
So business is not a baby; it's a machine, and it should be a well-oiled machine, and it works without you.
Yes.
But you have to get it to the point that you can trust that it's a well-oiled machine. So how do you? Sure. How do you do that? I'm sorry, before we even start going down that rabbit hole, do you work with business owners?
I do work with business owners, but I work with a small population. So I work with 4 a quarter. I do help small business owners. I am lucky and blessed that one of my challenges of starting a small business wasn't the business aspect. I have an MBA, as you said, but aside from that, I grew regions into multi-million-dollar regions. So I took small practices that were individually owned. We acquired them through a bigger corporation, and I grew regions across multiple states. And I took them from small mom and pop shops to multi-million-dollar revenue generating practices. So I know the business side, and that wasn't a fear of mine, but I know that it's a fear of a lot of small business owners because they don't have that business background and navigating the finances and hiring and growing teams and leading them and trusting people and delegation and setting up their business processes and their strategies. So I have a lot of people reach out to me about that. So I do take on a limited amount of clients. And the only reason I take on 4 right now is because that's what I can handle. And I am so passionate about people's success that I take people that I can dedicate the time and resources to help them be successful. Because never do I want somebody to leave me and not be successful on the other side. It just doesn't happen. It hasn't happened yet, and I'm going to keep rolling where it doesn't ever happen. So that's a lofty goal, but I'm successful at it, so I keep it moving. But for businesses, so how do you get it to be a well-oiled machine? Well, you have to alleviate the emotional detachment, and that's really tough for people. We do see our businesses as our babies, but you don't make good CEO decisions when you're parenting your business. And you have to be a CEO, and you got to make really strategic decisions when you're a CEO, or else it's very likely you could make the wrong decision or trust the wrong people because you're too emotionally attached. Emotions in business, you really got to balance that. It's important to have empathy, understanding, and to have love for your business and who you work with. Incredibly. As in your case, Jean, you want to have empathy and understanding for your clients. You want to be an emotional support. They're coming to you in turmoil and fear, and they're totally relying on you to save them, right? And you want to have that empathy to them, but you also have to have that strong stance of, look, this is what we have to do to move forward. And I know this is a bad situation, but here's how we have to move forward, and this is what we're going to do. And you can't be caught up in that emotion of people, and you can't take that home with you at night because that's incredibly detrimental to your personal health, wellness, and relationships. So keeping it a well-oiled machine, it's a process. It's over time. But when you step into it at the beginning and you set yourself up where I am the CEO of a business, this is a machine. This is going to a machine which helps me make money so I can help serve more people. And that is always my impact statement, is I want to make money so I can help more people. I don't want to help people to make money. So that's always been the backbone of my my business is I want to be in service of others. And my well-oiled machine, my policies, my processes, my strategies all help serve clients. And so it's important for my machine to be well-oiled. And machines need maintenance, they need care, they need outside resources. But, sometimes they just need to be plugged in and they're going and you're off doing something else. And it should be that way. I'm used to this look of people just are like, wow, okay, that's that's a thought.
I wish I could just flip a switch and my business would be a well-oiled machine.
But you know what? I bet, so you do have onboarding process for your clients, right? You have how you bring your clients on, how you serve your clients, how you work through their legal issues, the advice, the guidance, and you have an offboarding process. Why would you think you don't have a machine so far?
I don't know.
Yeah, you do. You do have it. You do have a business. You have wheels moving in a certain direction in serving people. And so it's this business, it's ongoing. And while you're over here serving other clients, your business is going in the background. It's chugging along. You can't.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You can't possibly do everything, right? So it's still going. The wheels are still moving, even if you're not there. I mean, you're here with me right now, but your business is still going, right? People can still find you. They can still reach out to you. People are still doing things that need your services and your resources. Other people are talking about you. I'm sure someone's talking about you right now. Jean's this fantastic lawyer. Let me refer you over to her today. That's all happening. That's all part of your business. That's all the wheels keep moving. But you're not the sole caretaker of one thing at one given time. Yeah. So look at the big picture. People have a hard time with that. because they're like, oh, it's my baby and I love it. Yeah, I love my business too, but I'm not emotionally attached where if I make a mistake, it's like, oh, I've totally killed it. And I just ruminate about it all day. It's like, okay, I screwed up. I learned from it. I'm moving forward. That leaving that emotional attachment behind will serve you better, because you'll go down a rabbit hole of self-sabotage and negative self-talk and doubting and comparison. My machine doesn't have to look like your machine. It's okay. It doesn't, your machine might be bigger, brighter, and shinier. That's okay. Mine's still moving in the right direction. And, I'll get there eventually. I'll upgrade and maybe get a shinier machine over time, but I'm still working on my little machine and we're just chugging along over here. When you start to see it from that point of view, you'll be better equipped to make stronger CEO decisions and stand in that position well.
That's really good advice, and I can see how that would actually kind of relate to the advice that you give other people who are looking for jobs that are not necessarily business owners, because the same thing, if they make a mistake or if they think that they screwed up in an interview or they did screw up in an interview, like, they could really let it affect them and get very upset and depressed about it. But, you just have to keep moving on. I mean, there's no point on dwelling. I mean, because like you said earlier, everybody makes mistakes and you have to learn from them so you don't make that mistake again. And that's how most of us learn, right? From mistakes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're right. That is the entire tie-in. After they go to an interview and they call me and they're like, I bombed it. I totally bombed it. And we talk through it. Okay, tell me why you think you bombed it. Well, I didn't ask, and I don't feel like I answered this question right. And all of these different things we talked about, I don't feel like I landed it well and I haven't heard back from them and I don't know what else to do. Okay, that wasn't your door. Not every door is going to be your door. And the door that is your door will open for you. But we're moving on to the next one. We learned the lesson. What can we learn from that interview? What did we do really well? What did we not do well? What do we learn? And now we're moving forward. You can't stay wrapped around, nobody wants me and I've applied so many times and I'm not hearing back. Or I got this great offer and they're lowballing me. And why are they lowballing me? And I don't know how to negotiate. So I just have to take it. And now I have to take this role that I was so excited about, but I'm not getting compensated to where I need to be. And it's not going to help, it's going to pay my bills, but that's pretty much it. I'm not going to be any better. And this sucks after all that I've gone through. And this is where I land. We can so easily get caught up in that. And that's where I come in and say, why are we not negotiating? And it's always a we, because we're in it together. I always feel like I'm up for the jobs. I'm up for the promotions. I'm up for the compensation navigation right along with you, because I really am. My client's success is my success. If they're not successful, I'm not successful. And so I'm highly invested in their success, and I feel like I'm right along with them. So I am the tough love cheerleader on the sidelines all the time.
Well, anybody would be very lucky to have you in their corner. I learned so much. I wish that I would have learned those things like 15 years ago before all the other job interviews I was on.
Don't we all?
Oh, wow.
Don't we? I always say, wow, if I had if I knew what I know now back then, it would have been a totally different story. But that's how I know that I'm needed, that what I offer people really is valuable and needed. And I am lucky to be living my purpose. So.
I'm so, I love my job too, but I just love how enthusiastic you are about what you do and helping people. Anybody that's watching this or the replay, I would suggest reaching out to Jennifer if you ever, I don't want to go outside of, I don't even know what word I'm trying to use. I don't want to go too far here in what I'm offering, but can people reach out to you if they're thinking about making a change?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So my one client came to me, she was VP in the healthcare industry. she came to me and we were talking about, remember what I said? We start with, what do you want to be doing? Where do you want to be spending your time every single day? What's your dream job? Her dream job was owning her own DSO, so her own set of practices. But you can't do that. You have to partner with a dentist. And so she had this dental friend who'd been trying to pull her into that for years. And she just kept denying it. She just was like, I'm not ready. I can't do it. You know, that's so risky. I have a family. They rely on me. I'm the breadwinner. A million excuses. And it's funny. We were just talking and that came out and she's like, I never told anybody that. I never said that out loud to anybody. So we started talking about it and we've been working together. So we set up an exit strategy. She needed a different job. She needed to leave where she's at. So she secured a different position and she left where she's at. And so she got a different position and that job is just her bridge job. It's her bridge to where she really wants to go. We set a date of when she wants to leave and she's working her exit strategy. And I'm helping her step away from her traditional 9-to-5 job. I do work with 9-to-5 jobs in the government and, you know, in the public sector, private sector, all different across different industries. But I work with you to devise your career strategy, whatever that looks like. And if it's leaving the 9-to-5 to do something else, something totally different, then we can put that strategy in place. So yes, it is all encompassing of career. Because if you're a business owner, that's your career. If you're working for a company or corporation, that's your career. But you need a strategy. And more than anything, if people take away anything else, one, I'd love to do a coffee chat and just if people are like feeling froggy about jumping into something else and hearing all the negative talk about the high unemployment rates and now's not a good time to leave your job or start a business or whatever, I'd love to have a 20-minute coffee chat. I'll bring my mocha, you bring your favorite drink, and we'll just chat it out. I'm happy to do that. No, it's not a sales call. I don't do sales calls. I don't have to do sales calls, so I don't do them. So we just chat and work it out. But number two, if anything else, the advice that I could give people is this: get really clear where you want to be. And don't come from a place of desperation. And maybe you can't help the desperation part because you need to do something else, but get really clear about what you want your career story to look like. What do you want your last day to look like when you say goodbye to your career, your retirement party? Who do you want in the room with you at your retirement party? What do you want them to be saying? What is the speech that you want to be giving at your retirement party? And that's where you need to start working your way backwards and navigating and writing your own career story. Do not let life write that story for you. You're better than that. You owe it to yourself to take hold of that power and that control and navigate that part of your life. So if nothing else, take that power back.
That is a really great way to end this. I could talk for hours with Jennifer about everything, but what do you want your retirement speech to be? Who do you want to be in the room when you retire? That's a good way to look at things. Yeah. I don't even want to ask you if you have anything else to add because that was perfect. But
I'm just so thankful to you, Jean, for having me be here and share with your audience and be a part of a great conversation. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was a good conversation. I actually know a few people that I might try to send your way to have a conversation.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy to chat with anybody. I love networking and I love just meeting new people anyway. And as you can see, it's a little weird for someone to get this excited over career and business, but I can't help it. I'm a nerd that way.
I wouldn't say it's weird. It's what you're passionate about. I'm passionate about my job. I'm also passionate about watching WWE wrestling and people.
I know you are. I know you are. Girl, we should have met back in the day when I was hanging around some of those wrestlers.
What?
Yeah, in Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta back in the early 90s, and they used to hang out at this place called $3 Cafe, which is right down the road from me in Sandy Springs, Georgia. And it's right outside Atlanta. So yeah, I know some of them. I knew some of them back in the day. So yeah, that's funny. They're good people. They're normal.
Yeah, I think that's where they do the training, but the headquarters is in Greenwich. So who did you meet?
Oh, well, this was back when Hulk Hogan, I had run into him maybe twice there. My mom and I actually saw him driving in the car. He was on his motorcycle back when he was married to his wife. She was on the back, but Randy Savage. And this was back when the WNO or NWO New World Order was just splitting off. A friend of mine was actually roommates with a wrestler, and they just had gone to high school together, and so he was roommates, and we used to just run in the same circles. But I used to like to go to this place called $3 Cafe, and also what was the other one called? Chris would know. $3 Cafe and right across American Pie. They hung out at American Pie a lot in Atlanta, Georgia. So yeah, they would just be there. They would kind of shut the place down sometimes, and they would be there, and yeah, so it was interesting. I never went to a wrestling event, though. People ask me all the time, well, did you get free tickets? No. I wouldn't call them my friends, but I knew them enough to say hi, and they would say hi. And I was not one that got kicked out when they shut the place down. I was able to stay. So, yeah, it's funny. I think that's hysterical that you love wrestling. My cousin loved wrestling, too, and he was enamored with the fact that I knew some of them. So.
I know. I'm so jealous.
I would have totally got some autographs for you. I
have autographs.
A couple people.
The last thing I'll say about wrestling is, so at one point Roman Reigns would come down through the crowd, and my brother and I got tickets. Well, my brother bought tickets that were where he thought Roman Reigns was going to be walking, so we could, see us on TV. And he did. He came right by. And then I reached out and I touched him. And my brother was like, don't do that. And I'm like, why not? What's he going to do? Everybody else is doing
that. There's one thing I will say a lot about the wrestlers more than some other celebrities, because Atlanta, there is a lot of celebrities around at different times. You'll run into different people. One thing about the wrestlers are that they really do love their fans, and they really do appreciate that their fans are their backbone of their career. And they always take time. I've seen some of them in malls and out to dinner, and they never, especially the kids who come up and are super fans, I've never seen them turn away. I saw David Justice when he was playing with the Braves. He was out to dinner, and he was very rude to a little boy who just wanted his autograph. And I was always impressed. I never saw one of the wrestlers turn anybody away, especially the girls. But kids and females especially got their attention. But even guys, when they would ask for their autograph, they were always very obliging and accommodating with the pictures and stuff. So they actually are very nice people.
That's good to hear. I still have my
I know a lot of people are like, oh, they're so cheesy and fake. I'm like, they're nice people, really. They're funny. I mean, they're very animated and dramatic, and yeah, I will say it was a good time. It was fun to hang out.
Yeah, I am so jealous. So if you're just tuning in, Jennifer said that I should have met her years ago when she went to establish.
Girl, we could have been hanging out.
WWE superstars, or at that time WWF.
Yes. Yeah.
But anyway.
All right. Well, thanks, girlie. It was good to catch up with you, and thanks for everyone tuning in and watching. I hope to connect with you.
Yeah, and if you guys are watching this later, feel free to write comments or questions or comments in the comments section, and Jennifer and I will get notifications so she can answer your questions. And we'll also put her contact info in the chat. If you're watching this, or if you were tuning in to bits and pieces, Jennifer provided so much useful information that I wish I had in all those years that I was doing interviews. So it definitely would be worth a conversation, I would say, with Jennifer, if you were, even contemplating, leaving, or if you just don't know what to do with your career, or if you don't have a job right now due to COVID. So either way, call Jennifer.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are interested, if you're in a place of not knowing, I do have a free workbook that I give people. It's called Overwhelmed to Offer, and it kind of talks about the top 8 mistakes I see in resumes, common questions that I find with my clients in resumes, and it talks about the applicant tracking system and how you can be successful in navigating that. Totally no strings attached. Happy to provide it for people who are just in a place of feeling really overwhelmed and getting started. if you want that, reach out to me, leave a note in the comments or DM me directly and I'll send that over to you.
You definitely should take Jennifer up on that. And Jennifer, one thing that I didn't ask about that I'm not going to get into, but I'd love to have you back another time. You talked about networking. We should talk sometime about how you network before you actually need the job and how that fits into your career.
Oh yeah.
Planning strategy. So if you would like to come back on.
Yeah, for sure. I love that.
I think that would be really useful because, I mean, I'm no expert, but I think a lot of people, either don't know the right way to network or don't know how to, or don't feel comfortable doing it. So, but that's for another day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say this. I recently had a client get a job at Amazon, not here, but in a rural area in Ohio, and he did it by networking. So he followed my networking and reached out. It was a job that was not advertised. Nobody knew about, and he totally networked his way in there. 27 years old, first management position. His dream company was Amazon, and he got it within 60 days.
Wow.
I know. So it does happen. I've had plenty of clients get jobs with networking. It's not what you think it is. It's incredibly important. So yeah, for sure. I'd love to come back.
Awesome. Well, Jennifer, thanks so much for joining me today. Sorry that we had a little bit of a technology hiccup in the beginning, but I'm glad that we were able to keep going and made this work because so much useful information in this presentation. So thank you. And Jennifer, once I end the broadcast, just stay on for a second. But thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in, and put your questions in there if you have any, and I will see you the next Local Business Spotlight.
Bye.
Bye.